Welcome to John Esser Sports Channel, where we do everything Championship, League One and running, and today it's League One Week 8 predictions. If you want to look at League One Week 7 predictions and their results, I have a review of that on a different video. Please go and see it. It's extremely interesting, especially seeing as it was my worst ever prediction. Worst ever prediction list. It is actually guided by your own suggestions and your own comments, so please do keep them coming in. We're going to start then with the first game on Saturday, Crawley versus Bolton. Now, Crawley versus Bolton, a little bit difficult because Bolton have been playing teams like Arsenal, that they've been playing teams like Barrow and the cup games like that, Shrewsbury in the cup, and you have to think that these aren't possibly teams or competitions that they really want to be thinking about at the minute as they try and get into that top six for promotion into the championship. Plus, are you really going to think you're going to beat Arsenal? So I want to look at how they've been doing in the league, and Bolton have had it a little bit torrid of late. The 4-0 defeat at home to Huddersfield, I think, really put pressure on the boss there, and I think that 5-2 win at home against Reading really gave him a little bit of breathing space. I don't think you can count the Arsenal 5-1 defeat in the Carabao Cup. So they're playing Crawley, who they've been playing really well at first, and then all of a sudden they seem to have just dropped off. Or is it that they've played the really good teams like Wigan, Brighton in the Bristol Street Motors, Wigan, and then Brighton in the Carabao Cup? And how weird is that? And then Barnsley and Stockport and Wrexham. Now, that's not an easy run of games, is it? It really isn't. In fact, they might be now thinking Bolton is a breath of fresh air. And I think that sort of gives them a little bit more, that lot's over, the hard bit's over. We can now start to look at the meat and bones of League One and try and attack that middle section. Although Bolton realistically should be in the top third. So Crawley on Saturday were in 17th, Bolton were in 18th. So these positions are from the weekend, not counting the Tuesday's games. And I think that Crawley will be scoring here because I think they will start to see things get a little bit easier. Will it play on the mind that they've been playing all these difficult teams? Quite likely, but they can and have played really well, but they're playing a Bolton side who I think need to play well, and they need it more. The boss knows that he needs to put in a good few really good games to get over the bad period, and I'm going to go, because of that, with everybody else. Everybody's saying 1-3, 1-2, 0-2. Most of you thinking Crawley's going to score, so I'm going to go Crawley 1, Bolton 2. Going into Reading, Huddersfield, and you have to feel for Reading and Reading's fans because everything looked good. It looked like it was going to go through the buyout, and it just fell through. And once again, they see themselves in a situation where they've got a threadbare squad. Reading, Huddersfield have been hit by a 3-1 defeat at home to Northampton, 2-0 defeat at home to Blackpool. Now they're going away to Reading side that have really not very good at all over the last couple of games. A 1-0 defeat at home to Orient, 5-2 defeat last week against Bolton. At Bolton, you have to think that it's going to be a Reading win. But then you look at Huddersfield and think, they'll be wanting to fight back after those the only win in the last 6 games here is the Bolton one, 4-0. They even lost to Rotherham, away, and you think, I just think that after so many defeats and only one win, it could be that Huddersfield win it. So I'm right on the fence. I see that there are people who think Reading could sort of squeeze a draw from this. I actually think they could win it, but by like a 1-0 win. But I'm going to go with Reading 0, Huddersfield 1. But don't be surprised if Reading just throw a wobbler. There were enough wobblers last week. There could be one again this week. And if it is, it could very well be at Reading. Birmingham versus Peterborough next. And Birmingham are flying, and I can't see them losing a game till the end of the season. They could, in all honesty, have been 3-4-0 up by half-time at Rotherham. I think they just sat back and thought they felt sorry for us because we weren't playing. We had 5 at the back flat, and we were just pegging it out as far as we could. They're almost unbeatable, aren't they? They're not bothered about the Bristol Street Motors 1-1 against Walsall. So look at Peterborough. They're not actually playing very, very badly, are they? The 2-2 draw at Orient wasn't too bad, because Orient have actually been putting up some pretty good, decent football of late. Bristol Rovers 3-2, and Bristol Rovers have actually been playing different style of football for what Taylor usually does. Absolutely phenomenal. I saw last weekend they started off playing the usual Taylor mode, and in the second half they seemed to change it, and all of a sudden they were passing the football, and it was like, wow. And they did really well, and I'm really interested in how Bristol Rovers are starting to play. So Peterborough probably played again a few teams that are starting to play really well. However, they're playing Birmingham, and I have to go with all of you lot. 3-1, 3-0, 3-0, 2-0. I think that you're probably right. I'm going to go with a couple of you that said Birmingham 3, Peterborough 0. Blackpool versus, excuse me for the cough, it's been out running. Blackpool versus Burton. Blackpool versus Burton. We wish it's not Burton, not Burnley. Burton not been playing so well. They've been tending to put the ball at the back, keep everyone at the back, really just don't let one in. And as a rule, they've not done too badly. Taking people on the break is what they did, and what they did at Barnsley. So they got that goal at Barnsley, whoosh, straight to their end and scored. And actually, they were on top for large portions of that game. That was our watch-along game on the Saturday. We were listening to that, and it was just all Burton. And they ended up losing it. So they have got a decent side. However, this new manager, Bounds, God, Blackpool are on a roll. They beat Huddersfield 2-0. And that shows you how well they're playing. But before that, they beat Charlton away 2-1. Now, Charlton are really, really good, and at home they are really clinical. I was more impressed by that game than I was the Huddersfield game, but you look at it and you think, these are actually free scoring now. I'm going to go with, again, I'm going to agree with several of you, and I'm going to go with Blackpool 3, Burton 1. I think Burton will score, but I think it will be probably a late consolation goal. Bristol Rovers versus Wycombe, and this is what I was talking about. Bristol Rovers now are starting to play different football, and I'm really interested. Will he continue to do that? Because I know that the last 3 games have been defeats: 2-1 away to Barnsley, 4-0 at home to Wigan, and 3-2 away loss to Peterborough. But Bristol can actually play good football, and they can actually turn things around. They have done, and they have started to just push the boundaries a little bit, like they did at Barnsley, even though they lost. They're playing a Wycombe side, though, that have been on Saturday, Bristol Rovers 19th, Wycombe 9th, and the position really does show the difference in the teams, because Wycombe have started to show that they're actually pretty good. Forget the Carabao Cup defeat at home to Villa, and the last 5 games they've only they've lost none, drawn one against Blackpool away 2-2, one one Swansea, that was Carabao Cup though. Northampton win away 2-1. Cambridge at home 2-1. The other ones are Bristol Street Motors. So perhaps there's a few cup games in there that could skew the statistics a little bit. But on the whole, I'm quite happy. I'm quite impressed by Wycombe's play, because they beat Cambridge at home. And if you've been listening to me, I've been saying Cambridge have been playing really well and been really, really unlucky. And the Wycombe game was one of them. They were just unlucky. They should have won that one, I think, but they were just unlucky. So I'm going to go with I'm going to go a bit heavier on the goals here, because most of them are saying 1-1 stroke 1-0 to Wycombe. I'm actually going to go Bristol Rovers 0, Wycombe 2. So I'm just going to stretch what you guys are saying in the comments. Cambridge versus Lincoln next, and Cambridge again. This is one of those teams that I just think have been really, really unlucky. They've played so bloody well. They have. They played really well. I'm really impressed by their back line. I mean, okay, it's the Bristol Street Motors, but they lost to Charlton at home 2-1. That's no mean feat against a team as clinical as Charlton, and they scored. Wycombe, who've been playing really well away, 2-1 defeat. That's no mean feat. And August 24th, 4-4 at home to Blackpool. When Blackpool weren't playing so well, I still think it was a pretty good score for them. And they're playing Lincoln, who, again, they've been, I think, a little bit unlucky. They've played teams that have just been bouncing back or trying to prove that they've got something to prove at the time. Will Lincoln bounce back? Because they've had a couple of really poor results. Draw against Peterborough, draw against Wigan, 1-1 and 0-0. The one before that would be Stevenage, which was an impressive 1-0 away win. They'll want to really come back. They need to come back. They want to come back. Cambridge were in 24th at the weekend. Lincoln were in 6th. I'm going to stick with the positions here and stick with. I'm going to go right down the middle of you lot. Right down the middle. I'm going to go with Cambridge 0, Lincoln 3. And believe me, I'm right in the centre of where you're all talking. Leyton Orient versus Wrexham next, so that's going to be Wrexham next game. No, Leyton Orient have actually been playing really well. Now, can Leyton Orient pull one on Wrexham? It's a little bit like the Birmingham situation, isn't it? They're Wrexham first, Leyton Orient 20th. Could Leyton Orient pull one? They had a really impressive 4-1 win away at Stockport, who have been playing really well. And on the 24th, they played Peterborough 2-2. Now, that's pretty good, because Peterborough are wanting to. They changed everything, the style of play, everything, and they just had a complete revamp of the squad, intending to be in that top 4, and to go to play against Peterborough at home and get 2-2 is actually quite good. But you look at Wrexham and you think the only defeat they've had so far, and they only lost points in the last 6 games, is Birmingham. And of course, that's the other good team, isn't it? I've got to agree with some of you are saying a draw, and I can see that happening. So maybe a draw, but I'm going to go a little bit stronger than most of you, because most of you think that Orient will be able to stop the goals glut from Wrexham. But I think it's going to be Leyton Orient 0, Wrexham 2. Most of you are not going as far as 2, but I'm going to go to 2. So one of my little jokers there. Northampton Mansfield. My team to watch, Mansfield, if you want to watch that team to watch video. Mansfield actually haven't been playing that badly. They've had a couple of glitches. 4-1 away defeat to Lincoln City, but then you would expect that. They're playing really well. Can't count the Bristol Street Motors. Against they're away to Northampton, who, well, 3-1 win away at Huddersfield. Ouch! And Huddersfield were never in it. They were just never in it. Although Northampton had less possession, they did more with it. I think they had 3 shots and 3 goals. Very clinical. Whether that just happened to be on the day, I don't know. What are you saying? You're saying 2-0, 2-1, 1-0. You're all seeming to go for Northampton. Now, I'm going to play another joker here because everyone's going for Northampton, but I think there's a good mix in that of scores and technical ability in the squad for Mansfield. I'm going to go Northampton 1, Mansfield 1. Shrewsbury Rotherham next, and I've changed this so many times you can't believe it. I've been on the New York Talk webcast yesterday, and I'm thinking, okay, we'll listen to the oh my god, the different scores that they're predicting. Shrewsbury have been excuse me, very, very good at putting a brick wall at the back and just trying to stop the opposition from scoring, although it hasn't really worked. 3-0 defeat away to Wrexham, 1-0 defeat at home to Charlton, 2-1 defeat away at Mansfield. A win at home to Leyton Orient, 3-0. And then before that, a loss away, 1-0 to Huddersfield. Again, some really good sides there. The only ones they might have done something against was Mansfield the last time out. So I'm sort of not expecting them to score, but if they do score, they could score one, and they could certainly score one against Rotherham's defence, but it doesn't look like they will. So my original thought of 1-0 to Shrewsbury, I think, is a little bit higher risk. There are some of you saying 2-1 to Rotherham, 1-0 to Rotherham. I've seen a couple of 1-0s to Shrewsbury. I've even seen a couple of 2-0s to Shrewsbury. Rotherham, who are just dismal at the minute. 2-2 draw at home to Burton. 1-1 draw away at Charlton. A win at home 2-1 to Huddersfield. But they just don't look like winning. And I can't see them winning. I'm going to go with Shrewsbury 0, Rotherham 0. And we go into the last few now. Stevenage versus Charlton. And again, Stevenage have been playing quite well, haven't they? And Charlton have just been their good old clinical self. Stevenage in 15th at the weekend. Charlton in 4th. Stevenage, last 2 games. Exeter 2-0 defeat away. That was a surprise. Wigan 0-0 away midweek. I thought that was definitely a surprise. Wigan, I think they could have beaten Wigan there. I was expecting them to beat them. Whereas you've got Charlton, who have just been really clinical. Okay, weekend, a shock 2-1 home defeat to Blackpool, but new manager bounce being new manager bounce. And Charlton are just looking too clinical, aren't they? I think that Stevenage may just be finding their feet here, but I can't see them beating a clinical Charlton. I really can't. At the level that they've been playing and the scores they've been getting and the type of football they've been playing, I can't see it. And I'm going to go right at the top end of you guys. So this is really at the top end. 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. I'm going to go for Stevenage 0, Charlton 2. I was right at the top end of you guys. So next we go to our last two, Wigan versus Exeter. Now Wigan, they said they got that 0-0 draw midweek against Stevenage at home. Yeah, actually that was quite good for them. I thought they'd get beaten by Stevenage. They've been playing well. And Lincoln City, they got a 0-0 away, and that they've been playing really well. So they've been managing to grind out some pretty good scores against teams you expect them to do relatively difficult against. Bristol Rovers 4-0 win away from home, and I think they've got it, and I think they're just turning a corner. But then you look at Exeter and you think, whereas Wigan are turning the corner, Exeter turned it a while ago. And Exeter are actually, I mean, they played Blackpool at the right time, just before the new manager, and won 2-1 away. Had they had the new manager bounced out, I'm quite certain they would have lost that one. No, they lost that one, didn't they? So they lost at Blackpool 2-1 away. And that was before the manager, so it could have been even worse if they'd have played it with the new manager. It's from trying to do things quickly for you. It's a difficult one. I can see Exeter have turned the corner and they're playing good football now, whereas Wigan are just starting to get to improve. A lot of you can't. In fact, I've not actually got anybody who's not predicted a draw. Most of you predicted a draw. I'm going to go with the 1 or 2 of you that have said Exeter. I'm going to go for Wigan 0, Exeter 1. Not many people expecting goals here, and I'm going to go with you. I don't think there will be. Barnsley versus Stockport, and we know what Barnsley are like in the first few minutes and the last few minutes. This is possibly going to be our watch along. I'm going to pay for the video, and so we'll have a watch along on Saturday, possibly with the Barnsley Stockport game because that's on Sky Sports. Wow, 2-1, 3-2, 3-1, 3-0. Stockport just seem to have stuttered of late. That 4-1 home defeat to Leyton Orient, and perhaps even the Crawley 1-1, just sort of giving them a bit of a kick and saying, actually, and that, you're not going to just sail off with it, are you? Even though you're in 7th. Barnsley are in 3rd. It's like, wow, how did they get there? Because they have been doing some daft things in the last minutes of games. And because if you look back to the game, the League One game before that, Mansfield away 1-1, I'm going to go with Barnsley. But I just think they're going to do something ridiculously stupid yet again. And I'm actually going to agree with 1 or 2 of you. And I'm actually going to go with Barnsley 3, Stockport 2. Let's see if we get that one right. So that's John S. Sports Channel, over and out, and I'll see you, hopefully, at the watch along on Saturday.